Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I will be your host, Rich Longo. And thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's webinar is one we have not done in quite some time. And a lot of things have happened with this particular product since last time we've done tips and tricks webinar and Track-it. And I'm very pleased to announce that we have Rosemary Lieberman of Microflow Software joining us today as a presenter. Now, Rosemary has been doing ITSM consulting for the last 25 plus years. And before that, she was a help desk staffer and then help desk manager. She is also a reporting expert and has given talks on reporting for BMC at their annual Engage events on 4 separate years as an invited speaker. Keep that in mind, folks. She brings a lot to the table as far as the reporting aspect is concerned. That seems to be what a lot of people need all the time. Her relationship with Flycast Partners goes back towards its inception. She has time and time again been an important part of many of Flycast Partners' customer implementations and projects. She is considered another member of our family here at Flycast Partners, so we're very happy to have Rosemary today. Rosemary, before we get started, let me introduce Flycast Partners to those out there that have not heard of us before and don't know what we do. We're here to deliver a seriously amazing IT experience. We've been founded and staffed by personnel for many years in the IT space. You took the best ideas from the collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in IT service management, IT asset management, IT operations management, workload automation and batch processing, enterprise service management, all using nothing but ITIL best practices. Our professional services can easily scale up or down to meet the IT needs of any customer, regardless of your size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. We offer our implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to reinforce your organization's long-term IT success. Our ongoing remote administration service and support offerings will enable you to focus on those normal day-to-day operations, saving you both precious time and money. I encourage you to feel free to reach out to us at any time at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or simply visit us on our website and chat with one of our IT specialists right here in the corner, as you can see on your screen. I encourage you to take advantage of our website to scope out future webinars that you or someone on your team or a friend of yours might be interested in. Sign up or share the registration with a friend. Check out training that we offer. Check out any type of professional services offering that we have that might best suit your organization's needs, new technologies. Check out our Microsoft Marketplace and other data sheets and white papers and customer stories under our resources page. I encourage you to tune in to our podcasts on Tuesdays and Wednesdays as well for additional information in the IT industry or just to have fun. Some of our podcasts are very light and enjoyable. They're kind of entertainable, let's say. They're entertainment. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass this presentation off to the queen of the hour, Miss Rosemary Lieberman. There you go, Rosemary. I've just passed over the screen to you. I don't have your audio yet. And audience, if you have questions today for Rosemary, please type those in the Q&A section of this WebEx, and I will read them off to Rosemary, and she'll answer as many as we can within the 45-minute time period allocated. She'll answer those for us. Rosemary, I've passed off the video to you, and if you'll unmute, we'll be able to hear you.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Very good.
Okay. How's everyone doing today? Well, I hope.
Looks like they're doing good. We've got people still joining in, and for those of you having troubles getting in, please go ahead and email me, and we'll get you all fixed up.
Okay, so what I was first going to do was go ahead and just share the some information with you. So I'm going to show, is it sharing? There you go. Can y'all see it? Good.
We can see it. It looks great. Track-it 2018.
Yeah. So I have Track-it 2018 up, and I didn't know if y'all would want to see that, but I have some information for you too. So this is the login screen for Track-it self-service up. One of the things that I wanted to point you to, and I have links to all this that we can get to you, but what's coming is what people are typically asking about. So if you ever want to know what the current release is, so we're waiting on, actually this one, we're waiting on the 2019 release 1 right now, and these are some of the things that are going to be coming. So you can see if we scroll down, things that people are really interested in before they move from 11.4 to 2018 are those people that are using training, library, survey, barcode, software license management. Those types of things will not be coming until release 2 for Track-it, and some of them, let me do a control minus here, and some of them aren't coming until release 3. Why don't we go ahead and start with any questions that you might have?
Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions typed in just quite yet, but we did have some biggest challenges that folks had sent in to us. Wait a minute, here we go. Here's a question, just popped in. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can pull this up. Okay. Although you can customize the label for a custom field in the forms, it seems you cannot do so on the grid and assets. When will that be possible? And that comes from Michael.
Okay, Michael, I don't know. I can try and find out for you. One of the things is some of those types of things are coming later. I know that there was a question asked in BMC communities, and if you don't know about BMC communities, you should go ahead and Google that and join the one for Track-it, because people ask questions like this all the time. And Chris Coffey and Eric Litz, those are product managers, will answer questions about things like that and try to give you tentative information. So that would be very nice to be able to customize the labels. You can customize the grid somewhat, but you can't customize the label. While we're waiting for anything else, one of the things I noticed that people asked a lot about was generating reports. And so one of the things that BMC did with the release of Track-it 2018 is they did a really good job on documenting the system. And so they have a section in this area with their docs for Track-it 2018 on designing and generating reports. But even better is that there is a link to download the documentation from DevExpress. That's going to get you basically every bit of information that you need to have. And I've already downloaded it, but I do have a link for it. Hold on, let me go my notepad file. If you want to download that documentation, let me put that in so that you can do that. Hold on just a second. And I've just pasted that into the chat window, and so y'all should be able to get that link. It is a download link, and it will download the reporting documentation from DevExpress, and it is detailed. So everything that you would need to do with a report. Okay.
I see that Rosemary has shared that link to all of you within the chat window, folks. So please take advantage of that link she has shared. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them and we'll ask. Otherwise, Rosemary, I'll let you continue.
Okay, so reporting is always a big deal, and this is a new reporting tool. You can still use Crystal Reports to report against the database, although the back end is now different than it used to be, so you would need to learn that. what many people may not realize is that the back end of Track-it 2018 is really the back end of Service Desk Express. So you will see a lot of things that are referenced as SMDBA, and there's tables and views and things like that that you would want to become familiar with. My recommendation is always to have a test install of something so that you can play without killing your production system. Never good to play in a production system. One of the things that I get questions on a lot is, I'm going to go ahead and log into Track-it. So happens to do with change management. And change management is a little bit different in Track-it than it is in, say, some larger applications with IDLE. And one of the questions I get all the time is, well, I'm trying to set up this change policy, and let's go look where we do that. So this is the landing screen, the dashboard, and I'm going to go to configuration. Configuration does not show up unless you are a system administrator, and that's set on an individual's user permissions. But let me go down here and show you change policies. So here's one that's already set up for a laptop request, and here's one for a training request. So basically, when you create a change policy, what are you doing? You're setting the criteria so that when you create a ticket and it matches that criteria, it will automatically create a change and link to it. So here you can see that they've set it up so that a decision is due from the approvers within 7 days of the create. Do we want to respect the work schedule? If so, you can pick the work schedule. And then here's the defining criteria. When a ticket is created or updated with the category equal to purchase, that's all they put in. You can obviously add other criteria based on department, location, priority, or the requester themselves. And then you go in and you define the approvers. So one of the problems my clients have had is, well, I don't know who the approver would be necessarily to start off, because a lot of times you want it to be the employee's manager. Right now in Track-it, they do not populate who the manager is. I've actually did the directory importer, and I bring the manager into the client record so that you can see who it is, but there's not an actual feature where I can select manager. So one of the things that I do is I actually create that first user, and I choose a user that I created in requesters called set approver. And then in the instructions, I would add, please review client record and choose their manager as the first approver. So that would allow me, I misspelled approver, I didn't think so. That would allow me to go ahead and not know, but create a policy so that first approver is set. Now, you want to make sure that they have an email address so that the initial notification rule doesn't fail, but it really isn't going anywhere. But once you change the approver, the notification will go out to whomever you chose as the first approver. Any questions on that?
Doesn't look like so far we have any questions on that at all, Rosemary. And folks, I encourage you, type in your questions. This is the time to pick Rosemary's brain while we've got her.
Okay. And since I'm a consultant, and when things aren't available to me, one of the things I do is create triggers. So another reason you should have a test system, if you're playing with creating SQL triggers, you can hose your system. Now, your question may be, are triggers allowed? I checked with BMC, and as long as they're well written, they shouldn't cause any problems, and they will upgrade. So one of the things that I noticed, so if I go in here and I look at my change approvals, I have a pending approval. And you might notice that I can request more information. So I would like more detail on why they need a 50-inch monitor. Okay, and I can hit request more information. That's great. What's the problem? I'll show you. So if I go back into Track-it and I look at change ID 102, you'll see that it's set to pending approval. Hold on, it's taking a moment to log. This is actually BMC's available demo online, and I use that so that if any of you haven't upgraded, you can go and look there. So one of the things that you see here is it's pending approval. There's no comment. Why is that? That's because the pending approval is actually done on another table. And I don't have a way to send that notification out with what that pending approval is. So you can see it's pending prior approval, purchase new laptop, review history. Wait a minute, it's supposed to be showing, hold on. So there was the approval, and then there's another, it should be showing me, hold on, let me go back. There's the status on that. Oh, here we go. So you can see the approver decision was updated. And the problem is, I'm like, where is that comment? Where is that comment having to do with the what they requested? And the problem is it's actually in a different table. So one of the things that I do as a consultant is I actually copy the comment from the approval decision to the approval table. So there's change approval and change approval details. And unfortunately, they're not automatically copying what the request was for. So I write a trigger that upon update, it inserts the comment here to the related approval. So that sounds complicated. It's really kind of easy for a consultant to do, but that's the way I got around that so that I can actually send a notification with what information was requested. It's something that I've also brought to BMC's attention, and hopefully in the business rules, they're going to modify it so that you can get the change approval details information. Any questions about that?
Not so far. And folks, once again, as a reminder, go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A section of this WebEx. Rosemary, we'll be happy to answer them for you live.
I will. I want questions. So basically, it would go ahead and show that. Like my mouse is not lining up. There we go. So you can see that it was waiting on that information. How many of you plan on using change requests?
It's a great question, folks. See, it looks like we've got some raised hands here. We got 1, 2,
okay.
3. We've got a few folks that have raised their hands.
Ready for it?
And Michael says he hasn't started though, but he plans on it.
Okay. So the thing is let's say here's another thing. So I also do change management. I do work in a lot of different applications. So one of the questions I get is I want to do change management basically in an idle way where you have normal, standard, and emergency changes. How can I accomplish that without creating these types? Well, what you can do is create the categories of, I usually start with a parent of change, and then I have change, emergency, standard, and normal, and I go ahead and set up the steps for that so that you can go ahead and just create a ticket. Now, Track-it's way is that you create changes from tickets, but you can add a new change directly. And so you could go ahead and put your information in what policy, and let's say you had a policy called change normal or change emergency and so on. So all of those things can be done. You just have to think about how you do it.
Rosemary, it looks like we do have a question that just came in. Let's see if I can read all of this here. This one comes from Ben. Bear with me here. I gotta get it to show the whole question.
Yeah, because I can't see the question.
Yeah, and I can see part of his question, and for some reason it's cutting off the bottom part. He uses BMC remedy for change management, which evidently they're having issues with. Let's see here. Let me see. Here, I've got an idea. There's more than one way to skin a cat here.
Okay.
We use BMC remedy for change management, which doesn't integrate with this change management and Track-it. Is there any plan to integrate those products together, or will they remain separate entities?
I would assume, of course, I don't work for BMC, so I don't know their thinking, but I would say that I would assume that there's no plan to integrate. Remedy is the big dog from BMC. It's their largest enterprise application, and Track-it is intended for, small and medium-sized businesses, and those products are going to remain standalone. Now, there will be coming in a future released web services. So my assumption, and listen to that word, assumption, is that there would be a way to connect via a web service. That's typically what you use web services for, is to be able to create a record in another application based on incoming data from one. So there's a push-pull, depends on who's pushing and who's pulling, but web services are planned. Hold on. I know I saw it. It might be in another screen that I saw, but I know that web services is planned for Track-it. I'm not seeing it on this matrix, but I know for a fact that web services is planned for, and I believe it's release 2019 release 3. Any other questions?
Not just yet. We're waiting on more questions, folks. Any other questions you have? Otherwise, Rosemary's going to continue going through some of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. So one of the things that's pretty interesting is that BMC chose to integrate BCM, their asset management tool, with Track-it. And that's actually very cool because it does a lot. You can roll out agents. There's a way to do that. But you actually get the BCM console as part of it, and that is really very functional. It actually collects a lot of information, and unfortunately, since this is online, it isn't at a real customer, but it actually picks up the primary user. Now, there is a bug right now in the directory importer tool where it's not associating the primary user with the asset, and BMC is working on that. But when that happens, it will. You can actually take remote control of the machine, and the attributes that it picks up is everything. When I say everything that it can read from the WMI, from the Windows management. So it picks up a lot of information about the asset, the applications that are running on it and installed, everything. So that's actually a really cool tool. And so you have two features with it. You have actual asset management, where you can populate fields and put financial information in. And you also have the ability to audit now. View those asset details. So you're actually looking at a screen here that is pulling information from BCM. This is not editable, this screen, but it pulls all the information in. And you can actually take remote control of a machine through this if it's been audited. And so those are some pretty cool things. I will tell you that do not retire an asset unless you really meant to retire it, because then the BCM tool won't pick it up anymore. The solution around that is to delete the asset. and then it will pick it up. But as long as it says retired in here, it won't. Any questions on asset management?
Now's your time, folks. Any questions on asset management? That's some great information. So far, so good, Rosemary.
All right, so I'm going to show the thing that I'm interested in then. So one of the things that's really cool about this version of Track-it is that it brought in something that came from Service Desk Express. And if any of you are familiar with it, it brought in the ability to create business rules. So business rules operate on the back end, basically, on an insert, update, or delete of a record. Now, these rules are inactive in here because this is an online system. They don't want things going out. But you can see that I can do things on the receipt of an email. So I can create a ticket. I can close assignments. I can notify approvers, notify requester on asset ownership. You can do all these kinds of things. So I thought that I would go ahead and create a rule for you. So when you go to create a rule, you obviously need a name. Example. And it's a good thing to put in a description. So one of the things that I do is I document, because I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time. 6 months from now, you most likely would not remember why you did a specific thing. And if you document it and document your changes, then you're not sitting there scratching your head and having to do research. I hate having my time wasted. So whenever I do business rules, I do something like, what's today? 01/29. Then I do my initials, created, for purpose of notifying technician on update of status. Okay. So here you say when a ticket, and I can say when a ticket, requester notes, assignment notes, new emails received, any of these things. Now, they're not giving us access to all the modules and tables and fields yet, but I've been pestering them, so I'm hoping that's coming. So I can do when a ticket is created or updated, when a ticket is created or updated. So you want to make sure that your conditions match for a create or an update. And I'm going to select the status field. You'll see in here that you have two different, actually 3 status things. So I have a status, status description, and status type. Status description is probably easiest for most users, so I'm going to pick status description. Then I'm going to say has changed. Basically what this does, if it's changed, if you think about the fact that on a blank, brand new ticket screen, the status is right now nothing, and it changes to something, the status has changed. If the ticket exists and it's populated with a status of, say, hold, and it changes to in progress, it's changed. So I'm going to say the status description has changed, and I want to make sure, and it always defaults to or. You have to remember to pick and that ticket status is not equal and the nice thing here is you get some of these functions, but it also shows you the values in the field. And I'm going to say, and it's not closed. I don't want to get a notification unless the status has changed to something except for closed. Then I can define what happens. So here I'm going to send, I can send a notification, update the record, or create a linked record. So I'm going to send a notification, and here are my notification details. And here I pick the who. I can pick a specific technician, all technicians, a group, select a requester to an alternate email. I can select a ticket from the field, select a field from the ticket. But here, when I go to select technicians, I can choose the ticket technician. So the ticket assigned on, the technician assigned on the ticket is who I want to notify. Then I can put items in. I can select a field from the ticket. So I can say ticket ID. After a while, you get used to these field names. Ticket.ticket ID, and I can insert it into the subject or the message body. So ticket.ticket ID. So here I put the word ticket. And it's important to, like spell correctly. Ticket, status, changed to, and now I can go and get that status description. Insert into the subject. And so now my subject's going to read ticket number, status changed to, and whatever that status is. And then you can type in here, hey, tech, the status has changed. Okay. Now, obviously, your message would be something much nicer. And, you could put something in for a signature. You can actually put HTML in here to make really pretty tickets. One of the things that I'm pestering for is notification templates. That's something that Service Desk Express could do, and the table's still there. So it's just them turning on some features. So I'm hoping that comes later. But here's what's going to go out. Click Apply. And then I can define a schedule. Generally, you send things immediately, but let's say that you're notifying a technician when a due date is approaching. You can actually do it a later time, and you can pick hours, minutes before or after the field. So you could pick the due date field or the response field there. So I'm going to say immediately, and you should put time zones in for your staff because I've seen where notifications don't work. If you want the notification to go out anytime, regardless of the work schedule, you would leave this blank. Otherwise, you would populate it with your work schedule. And then you can click Save. And so anytime the status is updated, it's going to send out a notification. Notice that it's not system, but it is set to inactive. If I wanted to make that active, I could activate the selected rule. One of the things, too, is that I typically want to make changes to the ones that are system. And to do that, you would want to copy the rule first so that you can make changes. You cannot change any of the system rules. Any questions on that?
All right, so Rosemary says the last time you asked for questions, we now have a small flurry of questions. So
okay,
let me
great.
back up here and see where we can start. We have quite a few to go. Let's see. Okay, the first one, I have a machine I'm trying to discover. It has been sitting online for a week, but it hasn't been discovered yet. Any way to kick off discovery audit directly from my machine?
Yes. So there is, you would go to the console, and the console, if I remember correctly, is your local machine 1610/role. But I can send you more detailed information on that, on how to do it. And I also have for you a whole process that I have documented. Well, I've gathered the document. And if nothing else works, you can read this document. I'm going to put it in the chat window, okay? But this is actually pretty cool because what you can do, this is a process to do an unconnected audit via USB. So if nothing else works, you can collect the information via USB from the machine that takes you through all of the information you would need to do that. How did I know somebody had a machine? Now, it's interesting, generally in the asset management setup, so I'm going to go to configuration. So you have one machine, and for some reason, it's not being picked up, right? So its IP address is within the IP addresses you've defined, all of that, right? In here, one of the things you need to make sure of
is correct. He just said correct. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things you want to make sure of is that you have the correct credentials, and they need to be domain admin credentials. So most people have a domain administrator on their machine, and so you would want to make sure of that. I have seen, though, where a machine just refuses to be discovered, and one of the things that you would do is you can actually get the audit install, and you would do that from that BCM console, and it's a larger document I'd have to send you, but I guarantee that we can send that to you. Rich is going to make a note, Rosemary promised something, and then I'll get it to him and he can send it out to anyone who's interested in it. But the console for BCM is there, and you can actually download the agents to install on the machine. And then it should be discovered. And if nothing else works, that document on how to do it via USB and then send it and integrate it into the console is there. So then it would be there. Does that do it?
Okay, and it looks like that took care of that. If there's any more information needed in that, go ahead and send me more questions on that. Next question, can I expand the list of Track-it asset types, or is that list fixed? We have other different types that aren't represented on the built-in list.
So on the asset types, when it does a discovery is where it gets them from, but you can create a new one. Right there. And you can set the parent, for example, let's see. I don't see server here, so let me. So I see server under there. So you could pick the parent that you want it under. I want it under hardware instead. So now I can pick that one and edit it. Change the parent to hardware. Save it. And there it is on the left. Another question?
Yeah, we have a couple more questions actually here. Hang on one second. Let me pull this last one up. How is this list related to the list in BMC Client Management, first part?
When it discovers them, it determines what the asset type is. So it would automatically set what it is. When it sets other, it wasn't able to read it. So it's just getting minimal information.
Okay, and now we have another question. Now, I'm not sure that you can show them the answer to this question. You might be able to walk them through this because of the nature of the question. But Sherry wants to know, we are actually getting started in Track-it 11.4. So we're not in Track-it 2018. We are wanting to start using this as an incident, break, fix, and request, modify, add, change, delete, and working on setting up emails for different areas to receive the tickets. Will this cover anything like that today? And another question, if I put in a self-service ticket, will the end user get an email confirming that the ticket is in the system, or just the message they get when they put it in?
Okay, for 11.4?
That's correct. Yeah, and I know you can't show that because that's not what we have up right now.
Right. Yeah, this was mostly focused on 2018, but you have the ability to create outgoing emails. Matter of fact, that's a question that I know that people have asked many times on BMC Communities. Are you a member of BMC Communities?
Sherry, have you joined BMC Communities yet? I'm waiting for her to respond. She says not yet.
Oh, I would definitely do that. And the reason is that question and how to do different things like that has been asked many times. And the BMC Communities for Track-it is robust. And you can go back and look at that. And there was a question that somebody asked. I go in and I look at the questions that people ask all the time because I want to know what are people asking. And also I don't know, I consider it kind of educational, fun to know what people want. But there was a specific question recently on email notifications for Track-it 11.4, and it laid it all out, exactly what to do. And with examples. So that would be better for you than me just kind of trying to talk you through it without the application up.
And next question, I don't see asset types. Now, this is back to 2018, by the way. We're shifting to a different person, different question. I don't see asset types. Is this new with 2018.3? We're currently on 2018.2.
So it's been there since I've been installing it.
And Sherry on the 11.4 says, thank you. That was very helpful knowing where to go.
Okay. Yeah, BMC Communities is great. And the product managers, and I'm not like divulging any information, you'll see their names there, but Chris Coffey and Eric List, they're very knowledgeable about the product, and they answer questions every day, which is kind of unusual. But they consider Track-it their baby, and they really are interested in answering your questions. Okay. If you don't see asset types there, that's interesting. I do not believe that is something new. That has been there. You're on .2.
He says, I don't have asset types. My asset management has 4 buttons, not 5, he says.
That's interesting. I can ask Chris if it was new, but honestly, I've seen that there since December. And I know it came that 2008 3 came out in October. So you may be right that it's not there and you'll have to upgrade to get it. I'm sorry that's not a great answer, but I didn't actually notice that it wasn't there before. It's been there the whole time since I started doing the implementations. And really, we just started getting those in November, the Track-it 2018 one. So I always use whatever the latest version is.
And that looks like that's all our questions for now. You have any? He says he's going to upgrade and see. You have any last minute sentences or statements you'd like to make, Rosemary?
Well, I have. I'm going to paste this into the chat window. I had links to BMC's documents for Track-it, their release schedule, the documentation for Track-it, and it's actually really good. There's some videos there. They're very detailed. Overview reporting, that Dev Express, and the unconnected audit. So I'm going to paste all of those into the chat window so anyone who didn't get them before can have them all in one place. So those were all the links that I wanted to give you.
And folks, if those links don't help you get where you need to go, by all means, give us a call at Flycast, 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. Or email us at info@flycastpartners.com. That's info@flycastpartners.com. And we'll help you figure out what you need and what you're looking for. If you email us, give us 5 business days to get the answer for you. If you call us, we'll try and get an answer or try and figure out what's going on while we have you on the phone. Rosemary, any other last minute tips?
Some things. Okay, it's actually a very nice product. They've done some really amazing things. The dashboard is really nice. And what I wanted to show you, if you aren't using it, for example, I'm a manager and I'm looking, I can actually drill down on the dashboard and get the actual grid of the ticket, which is very nice. Some dashboarding tools just let you see things. They don't let you get to it. So that's a very nice feature in Track-it. And it is a true thin client now. If you're on older versions, you had to have that client server piece. It's now a thin client, so That's a really cool thing. And the asset management is phenomenal. The fact that you get BCM with the product is really a kind of cool thing. You don't need any other asset discovery tool. It is a very, very robust. And I know I sent Rich all the URLs that I just referenced, but I know I need to get the one on how to get access to the console on your server. So I will go ahead and get that documentation to him and anyone that's interested in that. Using that console, you're just going to be amazed. It's got reports and queries and all kinds of things already built into it. It is an expensive tool, as I'm sure Rich can tell you. I don't know exactly because as a consultant, I try to stay away from what things cost. But it is a very robust, very great tool. My last tip is I have noticed that many people are buying named licenses, and that's fine, but you want to also have some concurrent. When you're doing the directory importer, you actually have to choose what license gets assigned. And if you have more technicians who have licenses, you want to have some concurrent licenses available for them. That would be a tip. And almost every client that I've done an installation for had purchased named licenses, and they needed some concurrent because they have more technicians than they have named licenses for. So that's it. It was very nice to talk with y'all today. And if you have any questions, let Rich know, and he'll let me know, and we'll get back to you.
Very good, Rosemary. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know you've got a lot going on, and we appreciate your time. Folks, I appreciate your time spending it with Flycast Partners today, learning a little bit more about Track-it 2018 and even a little bit earlier version of Track-it. Reminder that if you do have lingering questions or are looking for some services or looking for some help, please reach out to us at 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. Or simply email us at info@flycastpartners.com. That's info@flycastpartners.com. Until next webinar later on this week, we'll see you then. Have a great week, folks.
Bye, everyone.